I'm an agoraphobic, and I have been one since the summer of 2009. I've always struggled with anxiety since I was very little, probably since the age of 4, maybe before that, and I just don't remember. But I never sought treatment until pretty much it got as bad as it is now. Um, Reason being that I was afraid of taking medication. I don't know if I just felt like I would be forced or if I would be told that I have I just had it really bad, and I guess I was just afraid of actually going through the process of being diagnosed and being told I have this horrible thing that I already knew that I had. But finally, I did go and seek treatment. Um, but by then, I was afraid of leaving my house pretty much, and it was very difficult to find a facility that was close to me that I could get to without freaking out too much. And luckily I did find one that was relatively close to my house, and despite that, it was very hard to get to this place, even though it wasn't even a mile away from my house, and I could just walk there if I needed to. It was very difficult. That first time that I did go, it felt like an eternity walking there. All the while, I felt all the powers of doom and gloom weighing upon my shoulders, as if the world was going to end at any second, because that's how you feel when you're having an anxiety attack, or at least that's how it feels to me. So when I started treatment, I was so bad that I was sitting there grasping the edge of the chair for dear life, because it felt like I was just going to float away into nothingness. And because my anxiety was so bad at that point, it was almost impossible for me to sit through talk therapy, through CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which basically reprograms your mind into thinking more positive, logical thoughts instead of the negative what ifs about the situation. Um, so because my mind and my body was so stressed out and always looking for something to go wrong, and it was so hard to concentrate and think logically, I did wind up vouching for taking medication. Um, I wound up getting on SSRI, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Um, I started out on Zoloft, which a lot of girls tend to vouch for because it doesn't make you gain weight, um, supposedly, or at least it's less likely to, of the SSRIs. That is generic at this point, meaning I bring up generic because those are cheaper, right? So, and I don't have medical insurance, so that was kind of an issue, even though I do get my prescription medications cheaper through my school because I'm a student. Anyways, so Zoloft, in my case, it's not always going to be the case for everyone. That's the tricky part when you're trying to select a medication, is that you never know what side effects you're going to get. It varies from person to person. Every person's biology is different. Everyone's going to react to things different. So in my case, Zoloft did make me feel more panicky in the beginning, and those side effects do fade with time. However, since I did start at such a high anxiety level, I didn't feel like I could wait through the 1 to maybe 3 or 4 weeks of these symptoms, because they were just so extreme. It was already so extreme to begin with that it was just a whole nother level that I just couldn't stand. So I did discontinue Zoloft, even though I was on such a small dose. It was like half of the smallest dose, which I think at the time I was taking something like 2.5 milligrams of Zoloft, and it was making me freak out. So I just quit taking that. after talking to my prescriber, of course, never just stop taking the medication. Always talk to your doctor first. In my case, it was a nurse practitioner. And so I started on Paxil, and Paxil was fine. Paxil calmed me down immediately. The long-term effects of Paxil making me feel like I can think more clearly and not be so anxious or quick to have a panic attack did take some time. However, because Paxil is such a sedating drug, the first week or so after I would take the drug immediately, maybe 10 minutes after, I would feel kind of drunk, actually, which was nice for me because I was in such a heightened anxiety state at that time that I kind of needed that sedating effect to catch up on sleep, to be honest. So Paxil was good for me. The only drawback about Paxil was the sleepiness did kind of continue, not as much as in the first couple of weeks, but it was very hard for me to wake up in the morning. It was very, very easy for me to just hit the snooze or whatever and sleep for an extra 2 hours despite having something to do that day. I did feel a little more apathetic towards things than I probably should have, like deadline coming up, no big deal. I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world, which is kind of nice, to be honest, but you can't continue living your life like that the whole rest of your life. It was good for a year or so, just relaxing and taking things easy, and I did talk to my professors telling them that I was going through this disorder and that I was seeking treatment for it, and so I was able to actually get deadlines pushed to a later date for me because of this, but I wouldn't recommend relying on that your entire life, because you need to progress. You don't want to rely on this as a crutch. So the biggest worry of mine of Paxil was that it was making me gain weight. It was making me gain a lot of weight despite living a pretty active lifestyle. I tried to work out 3 to 4 times a week or more. I commute by bicycle to everywhere that I go. I don't drive. So yeah, I eat fairly well. I eat all my vegetables and fruits and no red meats or anything like that. Relatively low fat, not a lot of sugar, but despite all of that, I gained a lot of weight. Couldn't seem to shed a pound even if I was on a very strict diet and went on a more strict exercise regime of 5 to 6 times a week, an hour at a time. I was basically just making myself tired without any results. So I decided to then talk to my nurse practitioner again and adjust, not adjust, but to switch over to a different medication, which now I'm on Lexapro. Lexapro is okay. It doesn't yet have a generic form, so luckily through my school I can get my medication for free. If you have insurance, it's an option for you. However, if you don't have insurance, well, Lexapro probably isn't the way to go because it's quite expensive. I did have to pay for it once or twice, and it was something like $120 for 30 pills of 10 milligrams. So I was on 10 milligrams for 2-3 months, and I did realize that it was easier to have an anxiety attack. But for some reason I didn't choose to go and tell my nurse practitioner about that, and thus I had a very, very tough semester ahead of me. I was pretty much white-knuckling it through my courses, and they were my last courses I needed for my master's degree before I started doing my thesis. I ended up passing, thank goodness. However, like I said, I made it much harder on myself. Rather than following up with the nurse practitioner and telling her that I probably needed a higher dose, I decided to just kind of hang on. So now I'm on 15 milligrams. I've been on that for a couple of weeks, still thinking that I'm adjusting to it, but I might have to go higher. We'll have to see. I am under a lot of stress right now because I just recently learned that I'm going to be teaching Linguistics 101 in about a week. I'll be starting to teach that, and So I'm just trying not to stress out too much about that. It'll be my first time teaching. It's a whole new ball game for me. So we'll see how that goes. I think mostly it's the anticipation building up to that event. Good stress and bad stress all contribute to this anxiety. I'm very excited to be teaching, but it's a good stress that's contributing to my anxiety. So in the next video, I'm going to be discussing how I'm dealing with my anxiety and how I'm progressing towards not being agoraphobic and being able to go places that I haven't been in such a long time and go places that I haven't been before.